move out of the booktube studio because that's what flooded.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, we're live. Sorry about they just told me some information prior to this. What up, guys? And welcome back to the Shelf Space Book Club live show again. This is for the month of August because we always do it. It's because I'm slow. I always end up having the first week of the following month. And so this is for The Dark That Dwells by Ryan, Roddy, and Matt Digman, or reverse that order. According to the page. Those of you who have read it, welcome. My wonderful guests this time, it's 2 for the price of 1, ladies and gentlemen. It is both Ryan and Kristen from Seeking Stories. And if you are not already subscribed to their channel, you must needs go and do this immediately. But you guys can go ahead and introduce yourselves in your channel. If you see me eating, deal with it. I have not eaten my lunch yet.
Is that Texas toast?
Yeah, it's from Zaxby's.
Oh, yeah. That's the
Zaxby's.
stuff.
Yeah.
You have the best lunch on the planet. My name is Ryan. I'm from the channel Seeking Stories, where we unlock the secrets of your favorite books and movies, but mainly books these days. If you heard Alan say, we're at the beginnings, because we just dropped the information that we're not in our booktube studio right now because our septic tank backed up and flooded into the studio. So we are in here for the foreseeable future. So, yeah.
I'm Kristen. And
This is Kristen.
I don't have anything to add to that.
Kristen finished the book at 1:30 this morning.
Yeah.
So.
But I beat Alan.
No, I finished it 10 minutes before this live show, which is why I haven't eaten my food.
But hey, at least Alan and Kristen have it fresh in their minds. I finished it like 10 days ago, and I don't remember what happened. So they're going to remind me.
Yeah.
They are running, Ryan and Kristen are running a Lord of the Rings read along over on their channel, co-hosted by Klaus. My wife is actually partaking in that. She's been reading her chapter a day. She's been doing a good job.
Nice. And if you come to that read along, we do a video a day too on the chapters. So
yes,
it's going to kill me, but I'm doing it.
I've been reading vicariously through those videos, and my wife lectured me for like 15 minutes about how wholesome hobbits are. She's like, I love hobbits. They're just so wholesome. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I see that. My distaste of Lord of the Rings is probably exaggerated, but you
have to stick to it now. It's part of your brand.
100%. That's how I do. For those of you who have who are like, why is Alan wearing a hat? That is because I was finishing reading this book, did not actually take a shower prior to this, which is usually what I do. I usually jump in the shower I'm right before I go on, because I'm always finishing reading the book because I have poor time management skills, and so my hair is disgusting, and so I'm wearing this hat so that you are not like, seriously. If I was not wearing this hat, your computer screens at your house would get greasy from the amount of grease that is contained in here. Like, seriously.
I'm just a little bit disappointed that you went with the hat instead of like the Palpatine cloak. It's too hot. That's my blanket that I wear. Anyway, yes, see, Charmaine knows. Finishing a book before the live show, that is the correct way to do it. Always and forever.
Wayward Pines. So, guys, let us talk about The Dark That Dwells. This is a self-published novel. This is a debut novel by Digman and Roddy, who are also, by day, pediatric ER nurses, or doctors. ER doctors. And they've just had a baby themselves also. They are so nice. Like, have you talked to them? Like, they're so nice.
Oh yeah, they're super nice. Yeah. And they run their own booktube channel too. What's their series?
Doctoring the Books, where it talks about injuries and stuff.
Yeah. So if you're a writer and want to get into writing, you watch their videos, figure out how to write like lacerations. I don't know.
Yeah, like wounds.
Yeah, wounds. Yeah.
Like what which is a cool series. Like what would this particular wound actually suffer on the human body?
And their videos are really well done. Like, they need more subscribers. They only have like 100 or something, and that's just a royal shame.
No, I agree. It's
one of the characters in the book. I forgot about that.
Yeah. There's a doctor in the book.
Yeah.
Booktube in general is filled with really good channels that don't have as many subs as they need to have, because it's an algorithm thing, and you're at the whim of I don't know, good fortune, someone stumbling across, and someone who has enough influence to be like, hey. Make everybody go subscribe to this.
Yeah. And people are reading less and less these days, so it's not like a very searchable niche outside of the people who are already doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's talk about this. This is a sci-fi book. Boosh. Oh my gosh, does a lot happen in this freaking book. so much happens in this book. It is like, I thought it was going to end like 20 times prior. It's like the end of Return of the King.
Yeah.
Like, how is this book still going on? It is so much happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Absolute.
4 protagonists, I think. Something like that.
I just got whiplash for how much is happening. So those of you in the chat who have read this, what did you give this book if you enjoyed it? If you hated it, you can probably keep that to yourself. That's probably not it's probably not super constructive, but you can be like, it's just not for me, whatever. But don't be like, I hated this book, it sucked. So what did you guys give it, Ryan and Kristen, based on your new rating scale or whatever?
Yeah, well, I did not spit it through my algorithm yet, just because I haven't had time to. But I'm going with my gut reaction, which is always a dangerous thing. I think I would give it 4-ish stars. I liked it enough to read it again. Like when this book 2 comes out, I'll probably read it again.
Yeah.
I probably won't read it again before that. It's decent. I don't read a lot of sci-fi. I realized recently this is probably the first sci-fi book I've read in probably a decade. So I have nothing to compare it to. I'm reading Dune right now, so that's what I have to compare it to. So that's night and day difference in the sci-fi genre.
Gotcha.
But I liked it. I had problems with a few things for sure from a constructive perspective, but I also had characters I loved. So we'll get into that too.
Yeah, I think I'm hovering about a 4-ish star.
Yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely read the next one, and I would probably read this again.
Yeah. What'd you think, Alan?
Hold on. The flop on the book is 5 stars. Okay, the production quality of this freaking book.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite self-published covers, like
It's really
ever.
Cool.
Like it's
really
gorgeous, the cover.
Yeah.
So Amanda, 5 stars or 4.5 to 5. Still thinking 3 stars. A lot to like interesting elements. I felt like it was not giving enough time to. Okay, I'm going to talk about that, Zibby. I'm going to talk about that very thing. So I tend to rate self-published novels differently than published novels, just because of the fact that like if you are traditionally published, like that book passes through so many freaking hands. There is no excuse for that book like not being good. So when I read something like Promise of Blood, and I have the problems that I have with Promise of Blood, like. No, like, yes, it's a debut, but McClellan, you don't get a buy. Like that passed through so many hands.
Yeah.
No reason. Ugh. But I'm probably gonna land on a 4 as well. There's enough going on here that I will definitely read the next one. I thought the ending section, and we're not really quite talking spoilers yet. First of all, I thought the prologue was excellent.
Yes.
I loved the prologue. I loved the Guardian. I was terrified of the Guardian in that prologue. So I loved the prologue, and I really liked the end sequence with the convergence of everything, where everything ends up at the end. Like that was breakneck and absolute madness.
Yeah.
Plus the world building that is going on here. Like this is a cool freaking world. Like,
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yes, Zibby. Yes. There's a lot happening here. Like a lot happening here. And the world building stuff and all of the, like, clearly all the factions are well thought out. And it feels like there is a larger world at play. It doesn't feel like, it's taking place in a single city. And so I think this really like shows a ton of promise. Like I think book 2 is going to be even better.
Oh yeah. Well, especially when you figure that they have this whole series plotted out already, and you just get a little bit of a taste of this world, like that cool world where like all the smugglers are, and then the planet where the prologue and the conclusion happens. Like they're so totally different, and it alludes to a lot more worlds like that. So I have to wonder. I'll have to ask them at some point how many like years they spent doing the world building. So I feel like that's the thing with a lot of like self-published authors. They'll just have these ideas that they'll play around their head for years and years, and then finally come up with a story that fits it. And especially with them, being a married couple, I'm wondering like how much came from each like side. Like what did they do to it? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely. And I think, and man, I think you're right. I think the history, like the lore, the world that this is set in is one of the strengths of this book for sure.
Yeah.
Plus, like the amount of stuff that happens. Again, when I'm talking about this, like I was just like, man, how much they didn't do a single book. Why is my phone ringing? Sorry. What was I going to say? Sorry. Oh, yes. It felt largely, especially at the beginning, it felt like, and you guys haven't played it, but maybe you guys in the comments have, it literally felt like Mass Effect. Like from walking around on the ship. Mass Effect is a huge, like three game science fiction RPG.
Yeah.
And that is just space. And it felt like that, like you're on the ship and you got the commander, and it felt like even when they're like, we got to scan this new planets in this cluster, and I'm like, I did that when I played Mass Effect. I was like, this is like a Mass Effect side quest. Like, like Shepard's off doing his thing, but these are like alternate characters in that universe, and they're going to do this. But and that appealed to me like nobody's business, because I love Mass Effect. I love it.
Well, it had a very Star Trekian feel to it.
There was a little
I haven't watched a whole lot of Star Trek, but just what I know of it. It's like you have all these like quests and all these worlds to explore. And that what is that thing? Guys, you gotta forgive me. It's been 10 days since I finished the books. I don't remember all the things, but like those gates that open, they travel through space. Yeah, the T-gates. Yeah, that is freaking cool. I love that. I love portal travel. That's my favorite trope of all time, is portal travel.
Yes, and that reminded me of the freaking mass relays and Mass Effect, where you go through and spits you out on the other side. Like the T-gates are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have the hot take. I did not like the prologue. That was my least favorite part of the entire story. For me, my problem with stories.
That's how I feel.
Evie, for watching, that's a gift right there. For me, I have a problem with prologues that throw characters I don't know anything into danger before I know anything about them. And for me, I'm like, I just don't care about this character yet. It's just an action scene, and I just don't care.
So Ryan,
coming back, now I care.
Let me ask you a question. So are you saying you don't like Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I do like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Here's why.
But you don't like the opening sequence of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I do. So here's the thing. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, you present Indiana Jones as a very interesting character to begin with, because he's this he's got that charisma. You know, everyone knows Harrison Ford in a way, and you're in this interesting world. Not this world doesn't have an interesting world, but I just didn't care about Sidna right from the beginning. Like for me, it's like, oh, it's just this sci-fi character.
But if she'd been played by Harrison Ford and had a cool hat, you would have.
Oh, I would have been in.
If you could have seen her on the screen, would it have made a difference?
Possibly. I have a really hard time with prologues in general. And so I read the prologue. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this book. But then it was better from there.
I'm with Alan. I immediately loved the prologue because it was scary and I like being thrown into the action.
I like prologues that are like the beginning of the Great Coats, where witty characters are doing witty things.
That's chapter one. That's not a prologue. That's chapter one.
Whatever it is, when the story starts.
Ryan, I'm gonna challenge you. Don't you love Stormlight Archive? And aren't there like multiple prologues in that?
Yeah, I don't like the prologues.
Oh, okay.
Or the interludes.
Yeah.
At least you're consistent.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I read a prologue I've liked.
Okay, well, at least you're consistent. I get that. I don't agree. I thought the
no, 2 against 1 here.
Yeah.
That's just a me problem.
But yeah, the idea of the frontier not explored yet. Yeah, the frontier and what's the other part called? The fathom. Fathom. Yeah, the frontier. Yeah. The fathom is the explored space.
The civilized.
The frontier is outside explored space. And then you have the never, which is kind of like subspace, like
I think so. Yeah.
Like other dimensional kind of thing, like parallel space.
Well, no, the never is like not everyone goes there. The rift is where I think they do all the traveling.
The traveling, yeah.
The never is like that, it's like the abyss below.
Yeah, that's right.
And then is there something above?
If there was, I don't remember. I mean, there's a lot of terms in here. Like that glossary helped like a ton.
There was a glossary?
It's not in the book. It's online.
Okay.
Yeah, it's online. I mean, I think we both have a couple criticisms that we'll wait. We'll save that for the end. Let's talk about the stuff that we did like. Of the 4 main characters, of the 3 protagonists, there are 4 POVs, but of the 3 protagonist POVs, which one was you guys' favorite? While I eat my fries,
do you want to go first?
Initially,
we're not allowed to say Hermes, by the way.
I know he doesn't count. He's still really cool though.
Yeah.
It's a toss up for me between Fall and Ban, but Fall kind of edges out a little bit. But it's They're close. It's close.
I think for me, I think I enjoyed reading Fall more. Every time I get to a Fall chapter, I'm like, yes, like this is the character I want to read. Like I love that Ranger feel to it.
Yeah.
At the same, and I feel like there's more to Fall than meets the eye. We've been alluded to that a few times, and I think we'll get into that in book 2. But I feel like Ban had a slightly more compelling backstory and storyline and character arc. He had a better character arc.
Yeah, I agree.
And he ends up with the freaking Spear of Destiny, which is awesome. So I like that. Not that, I mean, Fall has a cool sword too. So I mean, one way or another.
Yeah.
The Fall's freaking, like, one of the coolest things was his like space bow that like, it's like a robot bow.
Boomer.
You can just tell it what he wants. Like, I want this.
There was a line near the end where he's trying to use the boomer arrow, and it just looked like he was calling Tiger a boomer.
I thought that too. Yeah.
Telling Tiger, okay, boomer.
Yeah.
I don't really know where it is. I wish I could find it, but it was amazing. But yeah, like just the mechanical bow and arrow was really cool. Like I loved the fact that, because this is kind of really like sci-fantasy, it feels like.
Oh yeah.
A lot of fantasy elements set in a sci-fi world, and I love that they were able to keep the bow and arrow and the sword. Like ain't no one using a freaking sword. I had the same criticism like in Mass Effect. In the third one, they send a samurai after the freaking after Shepard, and I'm like, why is this dude fighting with a katana in a sci-fi novel where people have guns and can shoot him? But it was done right with Fall. Fall did it right. Mass Effect with Kai Lung, it's stupid. It was way cooler in this. Like they found a way to make that old tech seem relevant.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being like, oh, you know what's cool? Samurai.
Yeah. Like it wasn't just a bow and arrow for the bow and arrow's sake. Like it had those upgrades to it that it could change on the fly. It almost gave us the advantage.
That, and he had other tools that he would use occasionally. Plus, he wasn't the only one who used blades. There were other people who had swords or knives or a little hidden thing, you know. So it's not like he was the only one, you know. Everyone had various weapons.
Amanda says Fall and Ban kept getting confusing. There were times where they overlapped a little bit as far as like kind of personality is concerned, because they're both like kind of do-gooders, if you will. So there was a little bit of that, but yeah, I agree. They definitely need to be, if it's ever a TV show, they need to be played by, like, one's blonde, and one has short blonde hair and clean shaven, and the other one has long dark hair and has a beard. Like,
some way. I claim it right now. I want to direct this movie. Matt and Ryan, I'll buy the rights with the $2 I have right now.
Oh yes, the sword had a finger hook.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too. That's I need to go back and like really pay attention to all the closing novels. I feel like first time I read novels, I just kind of like I try to get like the whole like idea of the characters and plot, and the second time is a much more rich experience. Like almost every time I read.
Of the four POVs, though, Tiger is my favorite. And Tiger's a bit of a mustache twirler, but I have said that doesn't really bother me. Tiger's insane. Like, it's actually insane. And I think they did a really good job of showing kind of like he is a huge zealot, but he gets more insane as it goes on.
Yeah.
And I guess we're talking spoilers. We're just gonna spoil things and people can just deal with it. Like the freaking like Snake Eyes guy that's about to get like his face wrecked by Tinker. Like, can we talk about the coolest thing? And Matt and Ryan, if you're listening, the coolest thing is them pulling the freaking weapons from the void. That is straight out of anime. I do not care that it's straight out of anime. That is so freaking cool. Watching like
Well, and I've never watched anime, so for me, I just thought it was cool just in general. Like that was like
same.
It was fun. Like
Hi, Charmaine. Sorry, we had to talk spoilers at this point.
Yeah, we just have to. But yeah, I mean, well, I think we talked about this in that other live stream we did a couple months ago about like just having a pure evil villain isn't a bad thing if it's done well. Like there are so many gray villains these days that almost are going through the same problems over and over again. and it's alluded to, especially as the book goes on near the end, that Teager has some problems too. He has a backstory that we don't really know much about at this point. We allude to some things, but just having a character that you know that if you get in his path, you are dead unless you watch out. Like it's fun to read sometimes. It gives us those stakes that I felt like, in my opinion, were missing in the prologue.
Yeah, the Andrew didn't like Teager, and that's okay. Like the freaking weapons were awesome. Like him, and at the end, you know, Ban getting his spear of destiny, being able to pull that out of the ether as well was just freaking cool.
Well, and I guess if we're already in spoiler territory, they technically, I think there's a very brief line near in the end kind of bit. I forget who says it, but I think it kind of implies that the whole pulling a weapon from the void, it's like, isn't that it make them a champion weapon? Like, I think someone calls both Teager and Ban champions.
Yeah.
So technically, they're both in that same category. It's just one has gone off the deep end.
I didn't catch that.
It's because Ban has the spear of what? Fenadral? Like Fenadral, right?
Fenander, I think.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. He's that guy. He's that god's champion. While Teager is Elkos. Is the champion of Elko. Yeah. Which that is one of the things I really like. Like, I got a little confused. See, Addie, I got a little confused with the worlds inside the crystals. I think they're recreating past realities, like because it says the crystals can store massive amounts of information. So I think it's like destroyed worlds are recreated inside.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got from it.
Yeah,
but the fact that all these gods were all these gods were like really powerful, like I guess beings, and like they all had their own like cool weapons or whatever, and you know now there are humans who are using those weapons and being their champions. I love avatars. Like I love God champion. Like I've liked that since my D&D days. Like I read a bunch of books like that where it's like, I'm the avatar of this particular. So
well, it's that whole idea too, where it's, I forget the terminology that they use, but they basically, in order for the gods to be powerful, they have to have like a certain amount of like followers in a way. Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, are the gods like locked away somehow? Like, where are they? Like, I feel like they're going to come up at some point. I mean, we know Elkos does kind of communicate with Teager. I mean, he does, but it's like very subtle. So it's like, where are these? Where did they disappear to? Maybe they said it in the book and I just forgot, but
I think they disappeared to the crystal worlds.
Okay, yeah.
And isn't Hermes one of these old gods? Like, isn't he one of them also?
I don't think we know. They keep several characters refer to him as an AI, but I don't know that that's accurate. I think they're just calling him what they can like associate with in their real world, but I don't think anyone really knows.
We know that Hermes like jumps between the crystal worlds into the main world,
easily,
or the main galaxy very easily.
And he knows a lot of information about like mysteries and stuff that the only other character. Sostek. They're the only two characters that really give us much about history in the book. So Hermes is, while very cool, is kind of a mystery to us.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was some sort of god in a way.
I thought it was implied when Ban sees Hermes as an old man inside the crystal world.
Yeah,
I thought it was implied that that he was one of the former gods, I guess. I don't know. And we'll talk about why this is confusing here in a minute. Amanda loved Hermes. Kristen, you loved Hermes.
Yeah.
Hermes is great.
He's probably my favorite too. He gave the character some like lightness and brevity that it needed.
Leslie loves the crystal worlds. Andrew loves the crystal worlds. Yeah. I thought it was really cool. I just thought it was kind of confusing for me for a minute. And like the Pneumati or the VR pods.
Oh, whatever.
Were they really like taking you inside crystal worlds? Like, were they actually like? I was very confused because Fall goes into the VR world.
Yeah,
but Ban goes into the crystal world. But it seems like stuff that happened inside was real for both. So I was semi confused by that.
Yeah. I think I can see how that could be really confusing. I think because I actually went back to the beginning just to look through, because I realized like, you know, the opening chapter, Fall is in a VR experience. And I was like, well, wait a minute, what was that for? And I realized, he was just doing a training thing. Like it wasn't serving the plot really, other than, you know, getting his characters kind of, you know, described.
Yeah.
But I think, if I remember correctly, I think when they put Ban and
the other dude,
Tire, I don't know how to say his name, in it, I think the guy, the commander or whoever, says that they've discovered those units were how they could communicate with the crystal. I think because the crystal had all this technology in it, and I think that was, they figured out some way to like hook it in, and that's how we get people inside the crystal.
And I think the commander thought that it was a VR world.
Oh, Garland, yeah, because he went in to get. Garland sent. Again, like was it Ban or Fall?
It was Ban. Yeah,
because
Garland sent Ban in to get the blessing. But but that was the crystal. That wasn't the VR, right? Like I thought.
No, that was the actual crystal.
Yeah, but he said it was a VR. We don't know if he was lying or not.
I think Garland didn't really understand that what he was sending them into.
Where did Fall get his ship? Like, didn't Fall recover a ship from inside? Like, where did he get his castle?
Yeah, he got it from the
other shard.
That was his name.
Yeah. So and Sostek says something to Fall when he's like, I think you're the one who can take over this, because he says you've been able to take yourself in and out of the shards by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that implies that only certain people can actually transfer in and out of them, and other people need help either by
a
machine or something.
Fall is the scion, or the, I guess, avatar of Farah, who is either, she was Farah a god, or was she like a mighty hero?
She was.
There's so much.
We had the glossary pulled up here.
She was, because when she was of the three original like champions or something, there was Sostek, I guess, who was a void. What are they called again?
Void driver.
And one of them, and the other guy was he a magi, or was he a ranger?
And that's Reist, right?
Reist. Was he a ranger, or was he not what we would call?
Reist is a magi. He's an arcanist, isn't he?
So was Farah like what they would call then, like
she's the ranger? Yes,
that's it. Okay. Yeah.
So, which makes me wonder then if Fall is supposed to be another champion.
I think that was implied.
So we just don't know what his cool void trick is.
Yeah.
If he gets one. But
Leslie, I think Leslie's right here. The crystal worlds felt like imprints, a historical record shadow of once existed. Yeah, because they keep talking about how much information the crystals can store.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like before something destroyed, and it was destroyed by the Ephraims, the Ephraims, isn't that what they're called? Ethmirs. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Ethmirs, he who hungers, and the other one. It talked about another one, the behemoth who ruins, or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have to do with a portal. Okay, yeah, that's right. They both go to the same place. Gotcha.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I liked the idea of the gate that moves on one side, like the gate to but always spits out the same point on the other side.
That was my favorite world building part of the whole story.
That was pretty cool.
Because it goes into another galaxy, they said, right?
Correct, where there's only one planet. There's one planet and one star.
Yeah.
I thought the Viridian section was really well done. From the minute they hit Viridian, it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes.
At one point, it felt to me a little bit reminiscent of Rogue One, the end of Rogue One.
Okay.
I haven't seen Rogue One.
Oh, okay.
It's
okay.
Yeah.
No, I won't.
You all have.
Well, it's funny you say that though, Kristen, because that world, because the whole temples, it reminds me of Yavin 4 in Star Wars. So in Episode 4, where the rebel bases, it had that vibe to it, just like this. Yeah. The temple place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, I guess kind of pick any that kind of major climax where you've got a bunch of different main parties of your story, all working on different missions, but they all connect to each other. So that's, I think, why I got.
And I think that was one of the strengths of the story. The ending was extremely chaotic in a good way, in the sense that you had all these characters with it being I was thinking, how in the world are they going to bring all this together? I hope they do, and they did, because everyone was in play at that point. Yeah. Towards somewhat of a common objective. Yeah. Or maybe not common objective, but they're all going for the same thing, but from different perspectives. Yeah. Tiger and Sidna and Fall, they're all their stories are entwined, which is good.
One of my favorite tropes is where the end of all the characters end up in the same place at the end for a climax. It's one of my favorite things.
I think we share all our favorite tropes.
So I'm looking right now at the glossary. So the never is during so it's both below them. It's the mysterious violet ether which can be seen below starships during rift passage. So it is while they're in the rift.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize this. I knew we'd heard this name like at the end because the stranger, the spy, more Trith is the god of death. So I don't know if it was him or the guy he was talking to. One of them is the god of death there. So I think the spy is like the champion.
He's I went back and looked. I forgot where it was.
Reshgal is
he's the
evil.
Reshgal.
I thought it was implying that he was him, but that would be weird.
So back in the history, there was those characters. You just had one of their names a few minutes ago.
The three champions.
The three champions.
Yeah.
I think Reshgal was.
Reist was one of the champions, but he got all upset when the other two hooked up and basically got received power from Reshgal.
That's it.
And basically and raised an army on his behalf.
Yeah, so Reshgal is one of the gods then, I think, right?
Yeah.
Reshgal is the male god of domination and conquest, a betrayer of those who trusted him. So
that's it.
But it seems like, hold on. So it seems, so the spy is Reshgal. Like,
that's what I got. I felt like it was saying at the end. Yeah.
So in that case, then, and that's what I think goes back to my theory of where are the other gods, like Elkos? Like he's communicating somehow. But if Reshgal could just go about and do his business, where's Elkos?
Elkos is probably in a crystal somewhere, or maybe not. But so I just looked it up at the very end. Reshgal is the spy. The guy he's talking to is Mortrith, the god of death. So there's two gods right there. Which makes it even cooler that I didn't.
Because Mortrith is the one who oversees that temple that they're all fighting in. Like that's his temple.
Yeah.
And he's the one who keeps raising all the people who die there.
Yeah.
Is Reshgal the guy who created the crystal worlds? Is that right? This is there's a lot that happens in this book. There's a lot that happens in this book. Like there's a lot of cool ideas in this. Like a lot of cool ideas.
Yeah. Well, and the whole idea too that like, okay, Tiger is obviously the antagonist in the story and he serves Elkos, but it seems like Elkos may be one of the good gods in a way because he is like sending Tiger and other characters to fight off the people who are summoning the evil god's powers.
Well, and really, what you kind of get from, I mean, the Harbinger character, of course, initially is who Tiger is. With.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, he's a seemingly more person-like than godlike. But when you actually get to even when he was the one kind of directing Tiger, it seems like no matter what Tiger is told, he just interprets his directives through his own like
kill the space witch.
It's like because even at the end you kind of hear Elkos's voice like kind of being very like, I don't know, like be careful, like I don't think you should do this. It's like he just takes what he thinks. Even though he's following Elkos, he's really what he's doing is he's following what he really wants to do, and he's using Elkos's.
That was the vibe I got.
Like, as an excuse for, you know, I'm following. I'm doing this zealotry. For you. Yeah, zealotry. Yeah.
It's because Elkos is warning him off because hang on, the spy is everywhere. He's definitely too powerful. So he's like Elkos is warning him off because Elkos knows that. Reshgal, is that his name?
Oh, Reshgal.
Reshgal is trying to unleash all of the Ethmirs by forcing Sidna into a corner.
Yeah.
And that's why at the end he's like, you can't let up. Like you cannot let up on her. Like she needs to remain afraid because as long as she's afraid, she'll keep using the darkness, which is really cool. And I thought that was really interesting. I really liked the fact that Fall had to make a choice there at the end, that they're kind of like, he's working with Tiger at the same time to try to beat back He Who Hungers.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he's like, I can't. And now that Tiger has witnessed this, like I'm predicting redemption arc for Tiger.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tiger's set up for redemption arc.
If Tiger, like, I just got chills. Like, if Tiger becomes a good guy, that would be so awesome. Yeah. That'll be so freaking awesome.
Well, and it would be because he's one of those people that if you like, he's so frightening that if he suddenly turns good, him being on the good guy's side would be crazy.
Yeah, same Zibby. And yes, I agree. Like, because he's a warrior. He's not a priest. He's a warrior. The one flashback we have, he's a warrior who joined the priesthood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And his freaking hammer is so cool. Janice.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna have alliances changing all over the place in the next. How many books do we know? How many books they're gonna be in this series?
They said 5.
5. Oh my goodness, we're gonna be like 50 by the time it's over.
But and Sidna's gonna be a bad guy, but she's gonna be a bad guy who doesn't really want to be a bad guy, which is also something I really like.
Yeah.
But she's definitely gonna be the villain. I mean, she's an antagonist because she's going to keep summoning He Who Hungers.
Yeah.
I also like the Guardian. I don't know why I like the Guardian. Like, I love mechs. I just like robots. That's why I like Union and Control. It's like whenever I played D&D, like I always ran a D&D game that had the race, the Warforged in it, which are like, they're just sentient robots. Like they're robotic people. Which
how can you like robots and not have watched Rogue One? It has one of the coolest robots of all time.
I'm about to hurt your feelings here and probably damage our friendship. I don't really like Star Wars.
That's okay. Most people have said things about Star Wars I disagree with. So
my problem, it's a similar thing. So like, I appreciate Lord of the Rings for really kind of defining modern fantasy. You know what I mean? Like paving the way. But since Lord of the Rings has come out, 100 years ago, like however long it came out, like not that far. But I've just read more interesting things since then. And it's the same thing with Star Wars. Like, I really appreciate it for kind of like popularizing the space opera.
Right.
But it's really generic because it like is genre defining. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say this, knowing the types of characters you like, I think of all the Star Wars movies that come out since the prequels, I think you would like Rogue One.
I've heard people hate them. Like, my students tell me how bad they are, Ryan.
They don't talk about Rogue One, though. If you say, what about Rogue One? They're like, oh, yeah, that one was the good one.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll watch Rogue One then.
Watch Rogue One. I think you'll like it because the robot is freaking awesome.
Nice. My favorite character from the prequels is freaking General Grievous because he's a robot.
Yeah. That's fair.
Alan, I have an important question for you. Have you seen Short Circuit?
Yeah, Johnny Five. Heck yeah. Five. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Short Circuit and Short Circuit too. Yeah. What's up, Ori? Yes, agreed, Amanda. And that's the cool thing that they said you have to keep chasing her. So to stay mad.
Well, and Fall warns Tiger. He's like, that's why this is a problem. If you leave her alone, she won't be, she won't do these terrible things. And he's like, no,
In a couple of things you guys just pointed out with the last few minutes, are things that I have a lot of, kind of good feelings about the series moving forward, is that the writers know good storytelling techniques. Like the fact that Sidney's going to have a fire under her butt for the rest of the story, that's a great technique. Like just to know that like this character is being pushed to the limits. That, and you, Alan, you mentioned Fall having that choice. And one of the things that I see in stories so many times that I hate is when characters are either not given a choice at the end or given like, obviously, oh, here's the good choice or the bad choice. And there's, pros and cons and there's nothing outside of that. Yeah. But it gave Fall 2 choices, both that had good things and bad things. And he had to make a realistic, like truthful choice. Yeah. And I love that. That was my favorite part of the story. He had to make some sort of choice that has galactic implications.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought I think they are exceptional storytellers. And I think they have a vast, expansive world in their mind. And they have a story that they want to tell that is, very, very action packed. Which is really cool. Like there's a lot of cool elements in here. Like there's just a lot. Not all of it worked for me, which we'll talk about. I'm trying to exhaust everything that we liked about it before we go into criticisms. But it is, there's just some cool stuff. Again, like taking weapons out of the ether, being champions of gods. That's cool as heck. Yeah. I can't wait to see who, I hope that Reshgal and more Trith or whatever. I hope they take champions and like some cool weapons come out. Because I'm also a huge sucker for magic weapons, like named weapons, magic weapons.
Yeah.
I love named weapons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, Alan, in that case, you should be reading Lord of the Rings. There's named weapons all over the place.
I know. Like I like The Hobbit. I don't know, like most people like Lord of the Rings better. I like The Hobbit. I love Bilbo.
I like The Hobbit better too.
I love Bilbo and the dwarves, and
they're great. Dwarves are hilarious. I also love, back to the Dark that Dwells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like sidekick characters, like Hermes. Like I feel like one of the reasons why I love Fall so much is because you have that character you can go kind of back and forth with and just banter with. Because you have that kind of character. Fall reminds me a little bit of Stormlight Archive. What's his name? Kaladin.
Oh,
he's
that's
not. He's a little bit mopey.
See, I thought Ban reminded me of Kaladin.
Yeah, they both have some Kaladin there. They're both kind of.
Ban was very Kaladin.
But I love it when a character who's a little bit down in the dumps has someone that he knows really well. He can just banter back and forth with, like, unfiltered. Like he just brings out some really cool character moments there. And having a character like Hermes, who's a little bit comedic too, really balanced out Fall, I think, and I like that.
Yeah, I like side characters as well. I don't like shapeshifters. I just had this conversation in my last live show last week about Empire and Black and Gold. I don't like shapeshifting as an ability just in general because it is often too powerful. Yeah. It isn't too powerful in here. Hermes the only situation it got them out of was at the end on Tiger's ship. Which was good. Oftentimes shapeshifting is too freaking powerful.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't overdone here, which I like. He just turned into stuff to fight. And you can turn in whatever you want to fight.
Yeah. Oh, that was cool, turning into a freaking suit of armor.
And you could see, that was cool. He's like, let me try this. Jump on him. But and it too, when he did run into a fight, if he did, you could see he was vulnerable. If he got too wounded, he just popped back into his little cylinder, and he couldn't shapeshift for a while.
And the thing too is that, like, when you have a protagonist who's a shapeshifter, I feel like that's the part where it's like it becomes too powerful too quickly because they have no excuse not to use it all the time. But a character like Hermes, who's very much like the Obi-Wan Kenobi character. He's the mentor. Like, he wants to teach Fall these things. So he's not just going to go and save his butt every single time.
He's kind of like a guardian because he even says like he's like, his dad told me, he's like, can you watch over him? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I like it less. I like shapeshifting less when the villains have it, because then literally you can explain everything away that one of the heroes was really the bad guy the whole time.
Yeah.
And they can never, you can never surprise the enemy because they're always, there's always a traitor that you have no chance to identify.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that always annoys me when that happens. Started with preconceived notions about everyone. They slowly shifted in lots of ways throughout the books. I agree. I had different thoughts about all of them prior to. First of all, I thought Fall was older than he actually was when I first met him. And then I thought Ban was a lot like harder than he was when I first met him, when he lets Holland die. And then Sidna, I liked Sidna more when I first met her.
Yeah,
and gradually descended into
In defense of the prologue, I'm actually going to defend the prologue for a second. I feel like that was one of the good things they did, is they set up Sidna as the very first character, the person who is becoming the villain, showing her first, saying, "Oh, here's the good guy. Let's follow her."
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I almost wondered after the prologue. I didn't know if she was going to be the one that would show up again with that power, because I almost, like, the way the prologue ended, it almost is like she could have died. Like, I was like, maybe she just died, and now I didn't even know how much time had passed. Like, you didn't have that idea, so I was like, I kind of thought even she might not even show up, and this was just a backstory thing. But
I wanted Tiger to catch her the whole time. It's just, I don't like the character archetype that I don't like is the one who ignores everyone's freaking warnings because they're so angry. Like the impulsive characters who just ignore good advice from the people around them. Those characters always frustrate me.
Well, which is why I think it was really refreshing. Okay, so one of the things is it touches on something else that I kind of noticed. They weren't afraid to kill characters Even ones that maybe weren't necessarily set up as a main character, but someone you thought might stick around as a side character, like oh they're dead. Okay, now they're dead too.
But like the space pirate.
Well, but that's what I'm getting to. That scene, he stands up. He's like, no, I'm not letting you make the dumb decision.
Yeah.
And he gets killed for it. And it's like for her, it's one of those like,
another shove to the dark side.
It's it's like I think even though she still continues to make the wrong decisions, you can clearly see she's at least experiencing the consequences and she's being affected by them, because that really broke her. And then even seeing May, the other ranger, like almost get killed for her, like of course that kind of pushes her more. But it's like,
I think is the point.
Yeah, but I kind of liked how that was thrown in there because she can see what her decisions are doing to the people around her. She's just not then turning around and making the right ones. So
well, apparently she has 5 books to learn from her mistakes and grow into the evil.
I thought the magic system was cool in that you find the shards and the information in there teaches you how to use different, like you are attuned, kind of, is what I gathered. You are attuned to certain elements, and you can use those elements, and then you learn, like, I guess you learn new powers from the crystals or whatever, which was cool. Like, I liked that the maiden used light and dark, while Sidna uses fire and air. I thought was cool.
I hope we find some more of those in the next book. I mean, we have there's gods all over the place. I mean, maybe not all over the place, but that we barely scratched the surface.
You know what else I liked? Tyr. I liked Tyr, and I really liked happy talking Tyr in the one crystal. Like when Tyr.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I like it when characters have that kind of little tick in a way, and the thing that breaks them out of just for a little while, and then goes back.
Well, you could always tell when May's voice was distinctive because May refused to use contractions. Like May never, not one time, used a contraction, and I was like, okay, this is May.
It's another mark of what they did well in the book. Each character really had distinctive voices, so in the conversations, for the most part, you knew who was talking.
I think that's especially true among certain characters. I think certain characters are done really well there that way. Union, I agree, Zibby. Union is probably my favorite because he's a robot and he talks like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. So some criticisms I had is so much happened in this book. So while I'm reading, like, my internal freelancer is going off, and I just want to edit some things because this book, so much happens. And I was talking about you guys about this right before we started. Is I feel like this book could have added 300 pages and split it in two, been 350 pages books to be like 700 pages, because so much happens. I think a lot of it, and this is back to what Zibby said early on, Zibby, your point. Some of it, because so much happens, like this is a very plot heavy book, like there's a lot going on. And while like I knew exactly what, like there's some stuff that they describe, like the locations they're at are wonderfully described. The equipment they're all wearing, like I don't know what the difference between light, medium, and power grade armor are, or heavy grade power armor is, but I know that they're wearing it, and all of that description of the tech and the world around them was really good. I think where the writing suffered a little bit is in some of these dialogue scenes or these tense scenes where I do not think enough. I think the dialogue is propelling the story forward, so it is serving a narrative purpose. But a lot of times I think the feeling, the way the characters were feeling as they are saying these things is left out. And so some moments, there's one moment in particular that I remember, and it's when Sidna, they reunite with Sidna, Fall, and it's after they take out the maiden and they reunite with Sidna. And Olivia picks up the gun and it's like has it like pointed at Sidna, and then May pulls out her gun and is like,
this like triangle of like,
and then literally, like it's just like they pulled out the gun. Hey, they say some things, and then Fall just goes, "Hey, put the gun down," and they just put the gun down. It's like, they say one thing and they're like, oh, okay, you're right, I never shot the gun. Like, it for me lacked the tension that scene, and it happens a lot in the scenes where they're talking. The action is great, like scenes are great, but in the scenes with the dialogue, I wanted more, just kind of
character stuff.
Yes. I wanted their character to be revealed more through their dialogue. We get a lot of the standard like sci-fi dialogue, like bringing her down, sir. About to go through the portal. Like it's like, I don't need that. Like I can fill that in. I've seen Star Trek and Mass Effect and a bunch of other space movies as well. I would much rather them have a conversation that wasn't related to the plot, or just know how Fall's feeling when he's talking to Olivia and she kisses him and then I guess rebukes him or whatever. Like I wanted more emotional writing, internal writing. I mean, we got some internal dialogue in italics, but it wasn't common. I just wanted more. I wanted to see more inside them. Yeah. As opposed to, does that make sense?
It does. And I think what was missing in a lot of cases is there was kind of a lack of subtext a lot of times. And I feel like you had all these plot heavy dialogue scenes where they could have wrapped in some subtext there to kind of bring that emotional side of it out without having to say, this is what I'm feeling. That wouldn't have been great writing either. But just, have that underlying tension there based on like what's not being said in a way. And I feel like that's what was missing. And they did that sometimes, like that very last conversation with Fall and Olivia in the medic bay, like that was like dripping with subtext.
But I agree. I think toward the end, and I loved the last scene was the flashback of a conversation between Sidna and Fall that we hadn't seen.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. Like what I'm saying, I think the storytelling, I think they're great storytellers. I just wanted I wanted the writing to be, and the good thing is that it's a debut novel, and you can get better.
Oh, absolutely,
writing. Like you can get better at writing, and it's not bad. Like it wasn't bad. It's just
I mean, we were saying like they have 4 more books to like get better and better as writers. I mean, and how awesome would it be if like something like Orbit picks it up and they're like given like time and editors and things like that. Like I think that could happen.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I actually do remember a scene, because that wasn't something that was really on my mind most of the time. But when you bring that up, there was a scene between. It was one of the first. It wasn't the very first scene between Fall and Olivia, but it was one of the first times they really like had a real conversation. It may have been after they got stuck on outside of the ship, the original ship. I don't remember exactly when, but I remember there was this whole dialogue scene. It was one of the few that didn't serve to just further the plot. They were just talking about, stuff. And I do remember looking at the scene and being like, there's no subtext here. Like, this is all just on top, and I was like, I wonder, like, I'm not a writer, so I'm like, I don't even know how you would do that. But I was like, I wish there was a way to make this scene more like, I immediately thought of that scene from Casino Royale. The one that on the train.
Yeah, when the 2 characters meet up for the first time.
Which helps when you have visual acting that adds subtext. So I was like, that's why I'm like, I don't know how you'd add that on a page. But yeah, Alan, when you bring up the scene at the end of the book, that was very clearly a scene that had a bit more layers to it.
I thought it's just a great way to wrap up the book. But I mean, another example is the final scene with Ban, which I really liked. But everything that happened in that final scene with Ban in front of the High Prince or whatever, everything happened so fast. Like that scene changed tone like 3 different times. But because, I just wanted there to be like layered emotion and like in the dialogue and the things that are happening, like what Ban is feeling as he's saying this, like more from everything. Things felt rushed to me because of this problem in sections where it just feels like it feels like people are talking because this is what needs to happen in this scene.
Right.
And so sometimes when they're having these conversations, it just didn't feel like they're 2 people having conversations. They are instead, this is what you need to know from this scene, because again, we have to move the plot forward, which is good. but I just wanted them to connect on a human level more. Like if that makes sense. Like and it's hard to describe.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I just want to feel like they're just talking about something that isn't plot related.
Yeah.
It's like there's another example, and because this is like I liked the book a lot. This is the dialogue is really the only thing that I'm hung up on.
Yeah, same here.
It's there's one scene where it's like there's one with Hermes, but then there's one with Tyr where it's just like they've talked to, Tyr has said that he believes Hermes.
Yeah.
And then Tyr out of nowhere, apropos of nothing, says, "You're not going to ask?" And Fall's like, "What?" He's like, "You're not going to ask why I believed him?" And it's like, that's not organic. Like that's I understand that you want to get that information across, but that doesn't feel organic. That's like, well, let me insert this narrative bit in here in a non-organic way. And it's things like that, because that same thing could have been done. It could have been done it just could have been done in a more organic way.
Right. And I think I saw that happen a few times in the story. And I think what was happening was you have, the writers, again, Matt and Ryan, if you're watching this, we love you guys. And we love the book.
100%.
Nitpick a little bit.
Yeah.
We had the authors of things trying to stay true to the main characters in a way. And a lot of times, like Fall would get kind of moody and wouldn't, ask those questions. Yeah. So they were trying to.
Are we talking about Fall or Ban?
Sorry, Ban.
Okay.
We had Ban get. Sorry, yeah, I get them mixed up too. You have Ban get moody, and you have Bex, who we haven't talked about really at all in this live stream. And I feel like she's a great character, but she's constantly, I feel like, there to kind of like pull information from Ban. And a few times she does it really well. Like I truly believe their dialogue.
Yeah.
But a few times, kind of similar to what you were saying, Alan, an exact same situation happened where she's like, but what about this? But what about that? And you feel like you're just trying to get the character into a place where you want them rather than making it happen organically.
There was one other.
Go ahead.
There was one other scene. So when talking about Tyr and Ban's conversations that they get on that in that planet, shard planet or whatever. Yeah. There was one, and this may be another thing, we can talk about maybe missing subtext and layers, emotional layers from scenes. I think another thing maybe is because, Alan, you're talking about how fast everything went, is I think pacing in conversations was missing. And there was one that I think had it, and it was the one right after Ban and Tyr meet up in that shard. And it's that whole argument about you shouldn't be following me, I don't deserve it, and that whole argument. Yeah. And I thought that one was because it stood out to me, and I think because it was a little bit lacking from the rest of the dialogue, is there was some good pacing there where you could tell they weren't just like line. They were just going back and forth. There was pauses, there were thoughts, there were
I agree.
I think that was another thing that could have maybe filled out some of the other dialogue.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I liked that scene as well. And it's because, so again, I'm on the spectrum, so I'm hypersensitive to like pattern recognition. And I noticed this early on, the dialogue, I think if it was just kind of varied in structure, it would have felt slightly more well-paced. So a lot of the dialogue, it has action, dialogue, action, dialogue, action, dialogue, action, dialogue. And it's always in that order. The dialogue almost never comes, or the action almost never comes after the quotes. So if you have a lot of dialogue, like if you look at the page, it's just identical sentence length.
Yeah.
I think if that was varied, because conversations ebb and flow. And so there's a lot of like really short lines that are all narratively like appropriate, like they're saying the things that we need them to say in the scene. But it's just like if feelings and thoughts and actions, not actions like she turned her head, he shifted his foot, but actions that show emotion or actions that demonstrate character.
Yeah.
I think that would have broken up a lot of the staccato dialogue sometimes and added to it. And again, like you said, like Matt and Ryan, like we love you guys. And, we're just, we would not be doing what we do if we were not being, trying to be as honest as possible in as kind a way as possible. We're not being mean, I'm excited to read the next book.
Oh yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And there's so many great things. The characters, the world building. I mean, the action was, that's one thing I don't like in a lot of books. I think the action in a lot of books is very poorly written. And I did not feel like that at all in this book. I felt like you always knew what was going on and you never felt like tired about it.
Yeah, I think the action scenes were really good. I again, once they got to Viridian, I loved they got to Viridian because I loved convergences like that. I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I just think, and I don't know what they did to edit it. I don't know if they paid an editor or whatever. I don't know. I just had wished that we would have gotten more through people talking because I love dialogue in book. Daniel Abraham is an author that does dialogue exceptionally well.
Is he the Long Price Quartet?
Yeah, because nothing happens in Long Price Quartet like ever, so it's it's literally all people talking. So it's exceptional, and I think De Castell does it in a completely different way. In Great Codes, I think between those characters, you absolutely know Brasti, Kest, and Falchio based on who's talking.
Oh, I read the first book in one sitting because of that very reason. Like I could not get enough of what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and Matt and Ryan, unlike these two, I read the book at a pretty leisurely pace. But I did read about from the quarter mark to the 3/4 mark in one sitting.
Nice.
So it was because I got hooked. So I thought it was good.
Yeah. No, I've been reading it all week. School was extraordinarily busy this week, so I didn't get to read as much during the week. So I had it left this morning. But any final thoughts? Like I think I overall enjoyed it.
No, I loved it. I'm excited to hold on to this copy because at some point they're gonna get picked up, and the self-published version is gonna be worth something someday. So,
I hope they get picked up. Like this is a good fit for Orbit for sure.
Oh yeah.
And, like after Leviathan Fall comes out, they need a new space thing. Yes, agreed, Zippy. It looks like Zippy and I have similar thoughts on this book. Once you get to Viridian, it is hard to put down. Like it is just like of epic proportions, and I love that Tiger fell through the thing.
Yes.
That's classic. That's so classic.
Yeah. And he's like, "Where's my ship?"
It's gone.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I love too is that I love how first off, I didn't notice any spelling and grammar errors.
Oh, same.
Great. It's formatted really well.
I found the typo first the novel.
Well, I mean, yeah. But I like the font choice too. It's not your traditional, fantasy book font. It's not something ridiculous just for its own sake, but it's very subtle and in a more of a sci-fi-ish direction, which I thought that was a cool choice too.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for chapters with names.
Yes.
Just in general. I really like that.
Yeah.
So Arian, the Viridian starts on chapter when do they start on chapter
the last 20% of the book, maybe 15-20%.
It's
like 3 in the
return, page 366 in my book. So the chapter return
100 pages out of a 460 something page book.
Yeah, Uri, I completely agree. Like I find published, like traditionally published books that have spelling and grammar mistakes, which is unacceptable considering how many freaking eyes that goes through.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Remember, last thing I love. Speaking of Viridian, I love it when climaxes of books go to a entirely different location. Like, new planet, time for the climax. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, I'm eager to see what's going to happen. Like that end, that game changing. Seeing Tiger see the people who betrayed him. I'm so ready for him to make a switch, a tentative alliance, if you will.
And seeing what sort of things Sidna does.
Well, and there was a moment in the very final confrontation. There was a moment where it seemed like he almost himself made a slightly temporary alliance in that he stopped fighting Fall. He's like, we need
and they
to fight
both
the monster.
charged together and
I was
really cheering. Yeah,
I was like, did this just happen?
Yeah. Did we lose Alan?
Sorry, he who hungers.
Nice.
Currently, I am he who hungers.
Yeah.
As I still have my.
So what we need to do is we need to push everyone over to Matt and Ryan. Tell them to buy the book and subscribe because they need to get to a point where they can quit their jobs as pediatric ER doctors to crank out the series because
they definitely
have a brand new baby. You know that it's probably gonna be 3 or 4 years before we get the next book.
Yeah, they definitely do. I thought I talked to Matt or Ryan, and they said they're shooting for they're shooting to write it next year, 2023. I could have made that up. I could have seen that in a crystal world or something. But I want to say they were pushing for 2023 for the next one.
Okay, that's decent. Yeah, because they came out 2020, so
2019.
Oh, 2019, really?
Yeah, came out in 2019.
Oh, okay.
But it was I didn't hear about it until 2020, the last year. But it is.
Well, and I have to imagine, that they plotted out the whole series, or in a basic sense, they seem to be that with the amount of world building they're obviously not seat of their pants writers.
Yeah. And they have there's a lot there that can be built on. Like there's a lot here to like. So I'm definitely curious to see how this is going to expand. I want to see how my boy Tiger is going to wield that hammer.
And I love it, Alan, because when you did your TBR about this book and you read the back of it and you got to the zealot and you're like, that's gonna be my favorite character.
I really like zealots. Like I love zealous characters.
Yeah.
I really like hyper focused characters. I've been talking about that with some of the people in Discord about like characters that are like singularly focused.
Yeah.
I'm really attracted to, but like other people are not.
No, I think it's great. I think it's awesome when writers can write characters who are laser focused, because it's very easy to make characters go off and do whatever side quest they want and no focus.
Yeah, that's right. That's me in any RPG that I play. leave the main quest till the end. So, you guys have any final thoughts? I enjoyed it. I'm ready for the second one.
Yeah, I'm ready too. Yeah, I guess go subscribe to Matt and Ryan. That's my final
thought. Go subscribe to Matt and Ryan. I think they're. What is their? I need to put their channel name down in the.
I think it's just called Matt and Ryan Roddy. I think
Matt Digman. Let me look. There it is. Yeah, it's Matt Digman and Ryan Roddy.
Yeah, and spelled out instead of an ampersand.
Yes, spelled out correct. And they only have 182 subscribers. You all should go subscribe to them because
if you are a writer too. I mean, they have some great tips on writing battle wounds accurately.
Yeah. They have one about asthma.
Yeah,
that's my asthma impression.
Yeah, out.
Yeah, I knew someone who was always had their inhaler. Poor guy. But yeah, and so guys, if you have not, I hope you enjoyed this live show about Dark That Dwells. If you have not read this, you should. And thank you so much to Ryan and Kristen from Seeking Stories. If you're not subscribed to them, you certainly should be. You are approaching, it's going to be next to no time before you hit 1K. Ryan.
We're getting close. We're getting there.
It is crazy.
My goal is by the end of the year, so we'll see.
It was like 870 when I looked last, right?
It's like 810.
What?
Yeah.
No, it was It was the 70s.
No, never been that close.
Dang it. Well, it needs to be
not right. About 180 away, 190 away. So
you'll get it. You'll get it for the end of the year. So please subscribe to them if you have not already. Yeah, a lot here to like. I mean, I agree. I think any debut novelist should, a lot here to like. Because I'd hate to write a book and be like, I don't like anything in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have heard my opinion. I think Alan agrees with this. Like, I usually find second books in the series to be much better. Because you established everything. So I am super excited for book 2. because you don't spend all the time setting up everything. You just you're off to the races.
Yeah. People in my Discord have read the second Shadow of the Aft book after the first one this last month, and they're already like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much better than the first book." I am ready. But
it's like Armor the Sphinx from Seven Sense. It's like any of those. It's so good.
Night Shadow takes everything about Trader's Blade and improves upon it.
Words of Radiance is the same thing from Way of Kings. It's good. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll. Thank you, Zibby, for reminding me. We will be back next this month or next month. First week next month. I don't know. It's Angela from Lit Science Alliance next month talking about Hyperion. So yeah. Ryan and Kristen, thank you guys so much for being here. Everybody who joined us, thank you so much. Please go read The Dark That Dwells by Matt and Ryan.
Yeah.
And support them. Please, go give self-published authors your love. It is. They have woken up and chosen the path of of most resistance.
Yes. Turmoil and angst and hardship and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I guess we'll be back in 2 years for book 2, Alan, right?
Yeah. All right. So you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and you guys hang out around as I end the broadcast.